Okay, let's get back to our top story. Pervez Musharraf, the former president of Pakistan and a former military general, has died at the age of 79. Husain Haqqani is a former ambassador to Washington for Pakistan. He is now diplomat in residence at the Anwar Gargash Diplomatic Academy in the United Arab Emirates. We've reached him today in Abu Dhabi to get his perspective on Musharraf's life. Mr. Haqqani, sir, thank you so much for making time for us.
Pleasure talking to you, Natasha.
Mr. Haqqani, when we look back at these past couple of decades in Pakistan's history, in the history on the war on terror, in the region, the international community, how critical will Musharraf's role be in all of this?
General Musharraf made a critical decision in the aftermath of 9/11 to realign Pakistan. Pakistan used to support the Taliban. It switched sides, supported the United States, helped the United States break the backbone of Al-Qaeda. At the same time, he had contradictory policies. He continued to support the Taliban in secret, which led to their revival. He also did not end support for Pakistan-based groups that attacked India. And so as soon as he lost power, these groups became active again. Afghanistan has fallen to the Taliban already, and the other jihadis are wreaking havoc on Pakistan today.
Was he in the end a good guy? Because it's such a complicated thing, particularly with Pakistan's long history of military generals taking control of the country. But in the end, was this a good guy who did the right thing?
Well, I think that his legacy will be mixed. There will be those who will admire him for what he did. He did support the United States. He did help break the backbone of Al-Qaeda, arrested many people and killed many people who were associated with Al-Qaeda. But in the end, he did not finish the job, partly because of his single-minded focus on India. I would argue that that was a result of his training as a military man in Pakistan. Were his intentions good? Perhaps. Was the net result completely what would have been desirable? Not necessarily.
Well, part of the problem with not having completed the job is also the fact that at the end of the day, bin Laden was found and killed inside Pakistan, in the capital. So to put that into perspective for us.
Absolutely. General Musharraf's great weakness was that instead of making the people of Pakistan realize that support for all jihadi groups, all terrorists was wrong, he just picked and chose. And as a result, several groups continued to thrive. And some of those groups, of course, were aligned with Al-Qaeda. They were aligned with bin Laden. And that's why bin Laden ended up being found in Pakistan. There are those who would argue that he continuously played a double game. He was trying to get American military and economic assistance and wanted to drag out the process of eliminating terrorism. All such exercises, of course, result in the situation that Pakistan has ended up with. When he took power in 1999 and overthrew the constitutional government, General Musharraf promised three things. He said he will build a functioning democracy. He said he would restore Pakistan's economy, and he said he would uproot terrorism. When he left office, all three issues were pending. Pakistan was not a full-fledged democracy. It still isn't. Pakistan was not a economically successful country. It still isn't. And it did not eliminate terrorism completely. And of course, he will be remembered for the fact that he denied that bin Laden even survived the post-9/11 invasion of Afghanistan, and yet bin Laden was found in Pakistan a few years later.
Let me ask you about someone who I know you worked with very closely for a long time, and that is, of course, the former leader in Pakistan, Benazir Bhutto. And her incredible return to Pakistani politics after being in exile for so many years in the West, and the assassination that took place of Benazir Bhutto. And Musharraf really came under fire for that, because not only did it seem like he didn't care about the investigation, some actually accused him of actually impeding the investigation to find out who was behind it, if not making the call himself for her assassination. Where do you stand on all of that?
We have no evidence because conspiracies can't be proven. However, he certainly did not help the investigation. Look, he did not like Benazir Bhutto. He did not like Nawaz Sharif, the two leaders that were the major civilian politicians before he took power. He tried to create alternatives, and as a result of that pursuit of alternatives, we were left with former cricketer Imran Khan much after General Musharraf relinquished power. But in the end, in 2006 and 7, he did negotiate with Benazir Bhutto and paved the way for her return. But when she came back, he wanted her to be totally dependent on him, not be an independent power center. And that little power game enabled someone to kill Benazir Bhutto. Musharraf also had a famous Baluch leader, Nawab Akbar Bukti, killed and bragged about it because he thought that eliminating him would end the insurgency in Balochistan. Those objectives were not attained. In the end, Pakistan would have been better off by having a constitutional system that functions like it does in many other countries. Pakistan ended up being polarized between Musharraf's supporters, who to this day say Pakistan needs an iron hand, and between those who want Pakistan to be a democracy. And Benazir Bhutto was foremost among them.
How will he be remembered and honored in Pakistan? Because he was in exile. The last time he tried to return and run again in politics, he was thrown in prison. Is he going to have a state funeral?
He will definitely have a military funeral. The Pakistan military will honor him because he was, after all, their chief. That has been the tradition in Pakistan. At the same time, there will be civilians who will continue to remember him for not respecting the Constitution, for saying that what is the Constitution? It's just a document of a few pages that can be torn anytime, and who in the end reflected Pakistan's long history of military intervention in politics, which has not had positive results. Yet, he gave Pakistan a few good years economically because of the flow of American assistance that came in the aftermath of 9/11. He did initiate a peace process with India that he did not take to fruition. And at the same time, he did get several mid and second ranking Al-Qaeda terrorists, even though he did not eliminate terrorism completely. So his will be a mixed legacy, and Pakistan remains a polarized society in which some people will admire General Pervez Musharraf and some will denigrate him for not being a constitutional or legitimate ruler.
Husain Haqqani, sir, always an education to speak with you. Thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure talking to you again.